in the past, we've had India's had success in Australia. Someone like Dravid, who, as I said, your second ever wicket in Test cricket was the wall. You had Pujara in the last couple of tours here, soaking up a lot of the pressure at the top of the order. With this Indian batting attack, quite an aggressive attack, how do you see that holding up in Australia? And with the Kiwis, O'Rourke and Henry bowling them out for 46 in the first innings, should the Australian attack take some encouragement from that, or do you see that top order doing some damage here?
Oh, look, I think what happened was it was a wicket that was probably conducive to fast bowling in that first innings, and they just put the ball in the right spot. As you mentioned, Will bowled particularly well. Henry's obviously brilliant with the ball and a lot more experienced. But India, they just didn't sort of go into their shell, and maybe it's that Baz ball that's sort of brushing off on other cricketers around the world. I know that India won't be proud of the way they played. They played some pretty loose shots, but you've got to give quality and credit to the bowlers as well, because they bowled some beautiful spells. They bowled fast. There was some short pitch bowling. They intimidated the batsmen. And this day and age, you've got India now, which is a powerhouse, that don't want to just bow down and do what they used to do, with all due respect, back in the 80s and 90s. India used to be quality players, but they couldn't find a way to win on every single opportunity. Now they know how to win, and they know they can beat Australia. They know they can beat the Kiwis. They know they can beat anyone on any given day. But unfortunately, you got to weigh up the risk factor as well. There's times where you got to go, okay, well, maybe the big shots aren't working today. Maybe just reining in a little bit. I don't think they sort of summed up the conditions as quickly as what they should have done. I think in the second innings they were better, but yeah, wasn't the case in the first.
And a reminder, you can watch every ball of the next test between India and New Zealand live on Fox Cricket and also on KO. Just on Jaswal, what should Australian audiences look forward to with him in over the 5-test summer?
He's very flamboyant. He reminds me a lot of Shidnarayan Chanapur from the West Indies of yesterday, like very similar technique. He's a run machine, and he's an aggressive, young left-hander that's quite whippy, but also is great at playing that cross-bat shot. I love a batsman that plays the cross-bat shot. Rohit Sharma, we've been blessed over the years to see him play, one of the best pullers in Test cricket. Jaiswal looks to score quickly, generally hits his first ball for 4, and he'll look to put the pressure straight back on Australia. So if the Aussies don't get their length right up front, don't get their pace right up front, he can definitely damage them. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes on these wickets. Perth, though, that said, will definitely test him out, because, as we know, South Asia and in particular India, when they come out to Australia, the general rule is they don't like fast, bouncy wickets. It used to be the case. Now they've got batsmen, as I mentioned before, that could play that cross-bat shot, so they might try and counter that.
We talked about the Australian attack and not leaving the Ferrari parked in the garage through the summer. How do you see the Indian attack, I suppose, through the Australian summer? They went with the 2 seamers and the 3 spinners for the test against New Zealand. What do we think? We see Mohammad Shami, obviously had the ankle issues, etc. We saw, I think, a photo of him bowling to Shubman Gill just on the weekend, and he's obviously trying to get back and improve that fitness. Yeah. Bumrah and Siraj are such champion bowlers, so outstanding. What do we think will happen? How do you see that attack sort of performing in Australia, and what sort of format do you see it? Is it the 3 seamers? Do they? Who are the spinners? How do you see it unfolding?
Yeah, well, look, they've got obviously Ashwin that plays that 4. He could even have the bowling, to be fair. He's got approaching 600 or so Test wickets. He's got beautiful shape when he bowls his spin. He can bowl with that brand new ball. But those names that you mentioned, Mohammad Shami's got to be fit. I think if India want to win over here, Mohammad Shami can definitely hold the key. Jasprit Bumrah, we all know how good Bumrah is. He's a guy that can shape the ball both ways. I think he'll bowl extremely great with the old ball. He's a great exponent of reverse swing. Mohammad Siraj, gets that new ball to torque. And when he presents that seam bowled upright, gets the ball to shape away, that's where Australia can nick off and be in danger. Certainly on these wickets, like Perth, like Adelaide, that can be conducive to fast bowling. So to me, it's that combination. It's those three bowlers plus Ashwin as a spinner, and then they've got options, with guys at the part-time spinners that can play a role. But you've got to have those three quicks firing if India want to win.
If it isn't Shami that's fit, do you see anyone, as a depth bowler or someone that they might pluck from the wild? And we saw Yadav sort of reaching exceptional speeds, your sort of speeds of 150 odd k's an hour through the IPL sort of series. Akadeep has obviously been a very, very talented bowler. Who are the possibilities to look forward to if it isn't Shami?
I think the great thing about me having the opportunity to work on the IPL and, see a lot of Indian cricketers, you get to see these young guys coming through the ranks. Mayank Yadav, to watch his first game in the IPL recently, earlier this year, back in, early March, I think it may have been, to hit 157 Ks first up in his first game. He went off with a side strain. Unfortunately, his franchise probably brought him back a little bit too early and then did his side again. And then they put him on ice, put him in cotton wool for a little bit. But then they literally threw him on the scene when he was ready to go again. So the great thing about India is that they're not worried about how much cricket someone's played, how much they haven't played. A bit like the Sam Constance, what we spoke about before. If he's ready to go, get him in there. And I actually love that theory because one thing I can promise you is that batsmen are okay around about that 135 to 140K mark. It's when they're bowling high 150s, I don't care who it is, no one likes to face bowling over 150Ks. So, yes, you can be a little bit erratic. Yes, you can bowl short and wide and get punished. But he looks as though that he's got the complete package. He's green, he's raw, he's only fresh on the scene. I'd be inclined to go with him. If Mohammad Shami's not ready, at least get him in the squad, get him around the team. And if something happens and it presents itself, he might get that opportunity. And I think he'll do pretty well on these Australian wickets.
First test at Optus Stadium, not quite the bounce of the whacker, but it's still got some teeth in it.
Still bouncy. Anything over in Perth's always bouncy. Yeah, the whacker used to be a graveyard sometimes for fast bowlers too, because everyone saw the carry and you see Gilly go up there and take that wonderful catch, where the batsman leaves on length rather than line. But the trick to bowling in Perth is not to bowl too short. You got to pitch the ball up. You got to bowl a lot fuller than what you expect. So that's where a lot of players, and I've come unstuck many occasions, as have most fast bowlers. So the Indian bowlers will have to make sure they pitch their length up around that 5.5 metre mark to induce that nick. But yeah, when you got raw pace as like a Mayank Yadav, he actually might suit that wicket.